Mic check, life check. With Haley Jensen. A phrase I've been hearing a lot recently is don't yuck my yum or don't yuck someone's yum. And I don't know how long it's been around. I don't know if it's one of those phrases that has been around for a long time or I'm just recently am hearing about it and it is new. Regardless, I do enjoy the phrase. When I first heard it, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit because who am I to not judge, I would say. I think it's free that we all have opinions, and I think that's fair. However, as I thought about it more, I did determine that it's significant to be able to enjoy the things you want to enjoy in life without having someone bring you down for it. But the point overall for today's episode that it's okay that we can have our each individual things we like. It's okay. And we can have our own thoughts about things, but all in all, don't yuck another person's yum. And this also stems for just, I guess, personal growth in general for myself, because I feel like in the past, I probably have most definitely yucked someone's yum and judged harshly. But I feel like aging helps with that and maturity, because it gets to a point where you're like, you know what, they're choosing to do that. That's fine. Good for them if it makes them happy. So right off the bat, there's multiple things throughout our lives I feel like we encounter that are just automatically trigger points for people to yuck another person's yum. For example, of course, sports. Don't need to go into that. But pineapple on pizza for decades, right? I personally do enjoy pineapple on pizza, and that's okay. Preferably with olives, but you don't need to stretch it. But then you get into things like Star Wars, right? Notoriously, on most TV shows, I would say it comes to a point, whether it's Big Bang Theory, How I Met Your Mother, where part of the dating prospect situation is that the guy has to reveal that he likes Star Wars, and that will be the dictating thing for whether the relationship is okay or not, you know? And growing up as a separate nerd of Harry Potter and then have been converted to Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, whatnot, since having been married, I guess it just makes you a really crappy kind of person to automatically just judge someone for something like that. And that's not coming as a nerd defending the fandom or anything. I just think it's really pathetic. I'm trying to give my own example of this for something that I would probably judge in the past. Now I don't care. Probably anime. That's obviously one of the most talked about things. I would be inclined to judge cosplayers in the past. Now I think they're awesome. I see how much work that goes into their outfit and the time and energy spent to the craft, and I respect that. But in the past, yeah, I probably would judge. It's just, it is a whole maturity thing. And I'm trying to think of something else that I would totally judge when I was younger. I would judge probably Twilight obsessed fanatics, like totally Team Edward, Team Jacob, when in reality, looking back, I did read those books as well around the time of the fanatics because of the fanatics. I wanted to know what everyone was freaking out about. And so I went and read the books. Did I don the t-shirts and scream and fall in love with Robert Pattinson and Taylor Lautner? No, I didn't. But I did think that, I'm trying to think back then. Who did I say? I think I was Team Edward. I think I've always been Team Edward, to be honest. But my point being is that back then I would try to be so much cooler than all those silly girls that were so obsessed, when in reality it was just to be a part of something, you know, part of that fandom. And I think looking back, I regret maybe not necessarily jumping straight in, because I was a tomboy and that wasn't in my DNA to want to be that kind of frilly girly girl obsessed with it. But I did want to be a part of it, I guess, in a sense. And the even funnier irony for me now is that a year or two ago on TikTok, there was a Twilight shirt being sold at Target floating around. And because I had read all the series and enjoyed it and thought it would be fun to have that shirt, I went out and got it. So there you go. I yucked my yum for my future self. But for all these points, it's just that there's people that take it to another degree, because you don't have to like it, but why are you so mad? A perfect example of this actually was yesterday when I posted a 4th of July TikTok. This was funny to me because I just had heard all the TikTok sounds, America sounds, flying around in my head all day, and so I decided to make one and post one. Immediately within the hour, I had 3 hate comments, and I will read them. One says, "What is the U.S. the greatest in?" Because I said on my TikTok, I love my family, or I love my home, family, and friends. Happy to live free in the greatest country. So the first person said, "What is the U.S. the greatest in?" The second one said, "Can you tell me what we're number 1 in that makes us the greatest?" And the third person said, "Aw, that's rough." So shout out. Love the engagement. And actually, I told my husband this, and he said, "No way," and was laughing that I had my first haters, and I love that too. But he had said, "Oh, well, you should go delete it. You can just delete them." I was like, no, engagement. Let them. It's the let them theory, everybody, that we've always heard about. But truly, that's the yuck my yum scenario, because you're choosing to be so miserable and type that out when I would be willing to guess, I mean, maybe they don't live in the US, but I would imagine that they do. And they're going out of their way to make that comment because they want to be miserable. Because I feel like if they're on TikTok, then they probably have enough good things going for them in this life that they have the ability to sit and scroll TikTok. And that's the thing. I will always love America and be a patriotic girly. When times are tough, when they're not as good, that's unfortunate. I get that. And I will struggle and have to deal with all the cost of living and inflation with everybody else. And what makes me laugh the most is that the 4th of July is a patriotic United States holiday, which you could in turn say, how dare you celebrate Halloween, a holiday based on pagan roots of devil worshipping and children sacrificed to the Lord of Darkness. So, to each their own. But I'm doubtful that these same people are going to yuck the yum of people wanting to celebrate Halloween. So it's a very double standard. A specific yuck that I've yummed, I feel like in the past before I had kids, was the whole kid leashes thing, putting your kid on a leash in a theme park. I totally get it now. My kid can run so fast, and yes, you can say, well, why aren't you a little track star then and go catch your kid? But they are faster than I in sometimes. But so I would not judge, and I do not judge anymore. I think I just did in the past more of just oh my gosh, great parenting kind of thing. But it's not much of a yuck or a yum that I'm yucking these days. A yum, I guess, that I yuck pretty regularly is just having more kids than you can handle. I've said many times, I fully believe people should only have 2 kids because they tend to not be able to handle more than that. They let their kids walk all over them. They don't take the time to, air quote, train their kids. But usually that has to do just a lot with the parenting in general. But keep in mind, when it comes to parenting, I feel like that is a fair game type of yum that I can yuck because I don't think it classifies as a yum. For example, we were at a park a couple weeks ago with some friends, and we were just letting our toddlers run around, and out of nowhere, my kid had wandered a little far, not far, but out of, I'd say, 2 arms lengths of me, and I could see him, obviously. I just looked to my left, he's right there, and all of a sudden, I see a kid approach him and shove him to the ground. Keep in mind, my little boy, he's not even 1.5 yet. And he was so confused. This was like one of the first times that he had ever had a playground interaction like this. And this kid fully shoves him from my son's shoulders and shoves him to the ground. The mama bear in me was furious, and I had been prepared for this moment, literally. So many times I've heard so many stories. There's so many online discourse of how to react, act, who's at fault here. Not that it's my son or mine's fault, because we did not do anything. I know for a fact that my kid didn't do anything. He was just walking around. He can't even talk. So he's just toddling around and was just minding his own business. But I think he must have gone into this corner for where this kid was, I guess, king of the hill or something. And this kid was, get out of this corner of the playground because I own it or something. That's what I gathered from the scenario for what I guess happened. But like I said, I'm 2 arms lengths away, so I immediately walk over, because I was just standing next to my mom friend who's also watching her toddler on her right side. Anyway, so I walk over immediately and I grab my kid and stand him up, and I just kind of must have done a finger wag in this kid's face and said, no, we do not do that. And whether or not he even remotely decided or wanted to listen to what I was saying, I don't care. All I know is that the dad came in out of nowhere, because I didn't see the dad around at all, and swooped the kid up, and he didn't really even say sorry. I don't know if he saw, but he obviously saw there was an issue, and my guess is that this kid has either anger issues usually, or he just naturally gathered that his kid had done something wrong. I think he must have mumbled, I don't know if he said sorry, but he mumbled something under his breath. He's like, oh, like, let's go over here, or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, was not impressed. Okay, here's the kicker. I kid you not, 10 minutes later, we were kind of in the same area of the playground, but in a different sector of it. And anyway, so my kid is now behind me, and I turned right when it happened, and my kid is pushed down again to the ground, and he is crying this time. And right when I had turned and I'd see this happen, the mom of this other kid, different kid, that in the moment I thought it was a boy, but I think it actually was a girl. It was very short blonde hair and then just kind of generic colored clothing. That's why I was kind of confused. But a little older than my kid, once again, probably 2 at least, and had pushed my kid to the ground. And the mom was nearby, a lot closer, and swooped in and was like, no, like, you don't say that, you say sorry, blah, blah, blah. And then immediately is like trying to look at my kid with like holding up my kid's face, like making sure that he's not hurt or anything. And which I guess I appreciate. I think it's kind of weird to put your hands on somebody else's kid, regardless, unless he's like bleeding or something. So I'm right there though this time, and I was like, hey, like, and I'm grabbing my child in the same moment, and the mom just said, oh, he's fine, like he didn't hit his head or anything, because there is a kind of teeter-totter toy right behind the like park equipment area. And he could have like fallen back and hit one of the bars on it, but he didn't. Like, I don't know. That's what she was assuring me. But I was just like, oh my gosh. And the mom friend I was with, she was like, oh my gosh, because she saw both these 2 incidents happen within 10 minutes of each other. And I was just like, I grabbed my kid and went back and said that to her. I was like, I can't believe, like, and keep in mind, this was just a larger city park, very well known. And so I guess that's the fault there, is that I thought the part of town that I was from and lived in was a little bit more respectful, and this one wasn't, I guess. But yeah, just shocked to my core. And then the cherry on top is my mom friend and I proceeded to still be around in the area. We should have just left at this point, I feel like. But we were just wanting our children to get some energy out, of course, and have fun. And so we stay in the area, and then eventually on that same teeter-totter toy, put our 2 kids, because there's like 4 different seats that you could put these kids. And so we put our 2 kids on one side. And so then I just happen to be looking around, just kind of watching the surroundings, and I see the dad of the first boy who pushed my kid down, and the mom of the second, I thought it was a boy, but apparently I think it was a girl, standing next to each other with a third baby. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this family has some serious aggression issues. And shoving my kid down to the ground. Absolutely crazy. I have a picture. I'll maybe post it on Instagram on my photo reel. But like, of this family, because I took a picture just to show my husband. I was like, this family has issues, apparently. Keep in mind, I know they're all kids. I get that. But I think a lot of things like that stems from things that are exhibited at home or taught. And yeah, like if I was the son's parent or the dad and saw that happen initially, like, no, that would not fly. I would be having a very frank discussion with my child, and we would potentially leave because of it. And yeah, it hurt my little mommy heart, and I feel like I did not defend my child in that moment. And because, I mean, honestly, what was I going to do? You know, throw myself between in the heat of the moment, because that's totally able to happen? No. So that is my example of yucking parenting. I don't believe that's a category that you can just generally say, oh, everyone does it differently, because the news networks will tell us otherwise. There are some very horrible parents out there. For example, I read a story today about in Provo, Utah, that there was a couple that kept their kids in dog cages and apparently punished them by poking them with screwdrivers. So, yeah, I will continue to yuck some people's parenting. One of the biggest examples of this for me is posting your kid's face online. Obviously, there's a lot of controversy for people that do it, people that don't do it, people that should do it, that are very high-profile influencers, and even the worst kind of influencers that have very well-knownly pimped out their kid pretty much for content, views, money. Anyway, I personally do not share my kid's face or anything about him. That's obviously for 2 reasons. One, there's too many scary things in the world that I am just not gonna even have an issue with, because I'm not gonna put my kid's face out there, or at least choose to have an issue with. And the other being that he is very young and growing up in a generation where a lot of kids his age that are being put on the internet, they don't have that choice. And so I would like him to be able to make that for himself regarding his social media footprint and all that. Also, something that I was talking about with my mom just pretty recently, because I was explaining for all of my reasoning for not posting my kid online, is another big part of it is for a lot of people, including myself, and I know this because I've talked about it with many other moms my same age, same generation, we have issues with either specific friends or grandparents that are not present in our kids' lives. They choose not to be. They have no care in the world regarding boundaries, and that there is just a complete struggle when it comes to the difference between how maybe we were raised when we were younger with having very present, loving, interested, caring grandparents versus what now our parents are being for our children, where they don't really give a crap. They don't put in the effort because that's just not how it was done. Yada, yada. I don't know. It's really hard to explain because obviously I have not walked in that generation's shoes. And quite honestly, I didn't have grandparents growing up whatsoever. Quite frankly, one side of them, both of them were dead, and then the other side, they lived in a different state, and I would get a little birthday check for $25 on Christmas or something like that from them. And if that's their way of loving and caring and that's satisfying to them, that's great. But it's just like looking back and reflecting on that, it's pretty unfortunate. I know there was a lot of other things that went into it regarding even my parents' relationship back then. I know things are a lot better now and things have changed obviously since, but it's just like I didn't grow up with a grandma and grandpa picking me up after school to go get McDonald's on a Friday or something like that. And I know a lot of people did grow up with that. But anyway, I digress. For my generation, girls my own age that I've talked to, we have all experienced issues with grandparents or aunts, uncles, whatever, that very strongly act one way with maybe a sibling and their kids versus our own kids, all because of different boundaries, or that they want to have their way or the highway regarding to how they want the grandkid to be raised or whatever. And I recently, like I said, I was talking to a friend that she was telling me about how she had this just exact same relationship with her grandparents. That's something that I'd been through in the past, and that I just told her kind of what I'd gone through, and she just kind of her mind was blown because she thought that her situation was so unique. Not that she thought that she was the only one with grandparents' problems, but just that how similar it was and how mind-boggling that the number one thing in this world, I would say for a lot of people, is just the absolute love for your kids. And so as a mom, you feel that way for your own children, of course, and it's not expected to have anyone else feel the way that you do about your particular child, because that's only something a mother's love can cover. But it's funny that our grandparents, or our parents, but grandparents for our children, are trying to just do the bare minimum to look in a public way, whether it's on Facebook or word of mouth, that they have they're grandparents and they have grandkids, and the more of them they have is like currency, and that more power to them, pretty much, that they have the existence of grandchildren. But the reality is that they don't show up whatsoever for these actual grandchildren. But anyway, that is something that I definitely would say I would happily yuck because somehow in some special way these grandparents are out there just being lazy AF and not giving a crap about their own children's children, aka their grandchildren, but acting otherwise and wanting the credit for it. And I've seen this all over social media too. So obviously I know I'm not bringing anything brand new to the table, but it just basically that these grandparents even want pictures sent so that they can then post it on their Facebook wall and make sure the world knows that they are a present grandparent and that they should get credit and get a big old gold star and pat on the back for it. And for that reason, that had come up in a discussion, not really, but I was talking about it with my mom and just saying, like, I don't post my kids on the internet, blah, 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 blah. But she's great, but she wasn't saying anything along the lines of like, oh, like, give me pictures so I can post them. No, I was sending her pictures, and we happened to just be talking about how I chose to not do that. But anyway, that is a yuck that I will always yuck for me if you're going to act one way about grandkids or your kids in general just so you can get credit from your public perception that you want to put out. But then there is also a worser evil to that, is that there's grandparents that pick and choose. Oh my goodness, the amount of different friendships I have that I have heard this time and time again, where one friend of mine, but their siblings' kids get praised and loved and gladly will be taken to babysit, and yet their own children or whatever won't be, or that the first grandchild, everything will be poured into for regarding the obsession and love and given. And then there's 3 or 4 more kids that come along after that grandchild, and they get less and less love and admiration, and they can see it. That's the saddest part, is that I've personally witnessed this occur. And not that I request any needs for babysitting, quite honestly. These same people, I wouldn't want to have my child be influenced around whatsoever, because I don't respect them. Sorry, I don't. One of my favorite quotes is the one that says, "Why would you listen to the advice of someone's who you don't respect?" Meaning someone can yap along and tell you what you should do in a specific situation because they're oh so wise. But it's just like, why on earth would I listen to you? Anyway, we have obviously gotten off track a little bit, but that's just been something that's been sitting on my mind of late. I've witnessed it in a lot of different interactions and situations because naturally it is around the 4th of July holiday here. So I've been seeing a lot of different interactions, people being really fake on social media and trying to prove that they are more so and so special and their life is spectacular than the realisticness of that it really is. In reality, that it probably is pretty fake. And on that same note, another yuck that I will forever yuck, and something that was said to me once, was imitation is the highest form of flattery. Okay, that is such BS. Anyone who's ever said that is so stupid, because they are the exact same type of person that would copy someone else and put it off as their own work if they're encouraging that statement. I'm all for stating that maybe, I don't know, come up with your own ideas and be original. But yeah. So once again, it's that copying is the highest form of flattery. Yes, obviously I understand the world does not revolve around one person doing something originally and uniquely every single time. Obviously fashion trends are trends for a reason, or just general other trends out there. But it's when specific people copy things or something that I've done naturally, organically as a personal, personality point for myself. But then I see them integrate it into their own lives and things that they do or say. And the funny thing is that it's even different when, for example, if I have a shirt or a tank top that I'm wearing and somebody's like, oh my gosh, I like that. I am that girl. I will immediately say, oh my gosh, yes, I bought it from Old Navy on this day. I will pull up my Old Navy app right now as I'm talking to them and see if it's still on sale or in stock. And I'll tell them my size I got and tell them how it fits. I am chronically a overshare in that department. So it's not about that. It's about they start doing it and putting it off as themselves being so unique or clever or creative. And what really gets me is that I can spot it from a mile away, especially when somebody, for example, if they're following me on social media, I watch them and know how they normally post or something, and all of a sudden they're doing something that I specifically do. And I can see, it's just a stark difference from how they usually post versus something that they do when they copy me. Anyway, it bugs me and it cracks me up at the same time because I'll screenshot it, immediately send it to my husband, and I'll be like, wow, look at this. And he'll clock it too because he has a general knowledge. Not that I have to necessarily tell him every instance, but he has a general knowledge for the same people that I know. And so I could show something to him and he's like, oh yeah, no, that's very much Haley coded. That's something that I would post, or something, a caption I would use, or font or whatever. Anyway, that's something I will always yuck. And unfortunately, there's not much that I can do about it. So I do have to just get over it, which as I've gotten older, I will say, I just kind of look at it now, and I'm sure I'd be a lot more high strung and like hung up on it for a longer time. But now I really just look at it and I'm just like, that's so pathetic. Get your own personality or be creative on your own. And I think the most pathetic type of person as well is the same person that can't think for themselves or needs to be influenced. Like, that's different than, I would say, the way that I would view like handy gadgets or just like things that are definitely like a great household buy influencer picked item or something that they're promoting. Different to me than something that a influencer's like, oh my gosh, you need to use this kind of makeup. Not even that there's like a specific product. That's the kind of influencer stuff that I just think anyone that's just going to be watching that and absorb it just because this person told them to, it's so pathetic. But it's also, that reminds me of that the Anne Hathaway interview on Ellen, where Anne Hathaway says, here, I have an orange for everyone under their seats, grab your orange. And so she starts telling a story about how she visited this, like, I don't know if it was a yoga retreat or something, wellness. And she said, what you do is you peel your orange and you hold up your orange peel to your face and you take a big whiff and then you bite it. I don't know. Anyway, the audience was holding on to her every word. And because she's a celebrity and she's telling this awesome story of how she was probably at this expensive retreat and with these really smart, well-educated people, blah, 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 were telling her about this. And the audience was listening. And so at the very end of her spiel, she said, and that's why you shouldn't listen to anyone, a celebrity or otherwise, that tells you what to put in your mouth and eat or drink or something like that. Because it was ridiculous. Anyway, point being is any person that really needs to be following all these celebrities and influencers on and be following more of those types of people than people in their own lives, it's ridiculous to me. But to each their own. I guess I need to back off on and just say, you know what? That's their yum. I'm not gonna yuck it because that's what they think is a good idea and an intelligent choice. But for me, not so much. All right, now I want to switch gears a little bit. I know I was kind of going back and forth. I want to do things that I have been yucked for. So something that I feel like is not very popular, I would say, for the last, let's see, how old is my child? Not a year and a half yet, but just about. And I stopped really caring about what my nails looked like, nail polish wise, and toe polish right after I gave birth, because I had done my nails pretty in, I guess, effort to having them to be done pretty in the labor and delivery room. And so I won't have to worry about it for the first couple of weeks until I got kind of a good little foothold on things and figured out when a time I could do that, if I wanted to do that, yada, yada. I have not painted my nails set for over a year and a half. And if you asked the girl that before she was pregnant, well, actually, my nails were usually painted when I was pregnant, but there was two reasons for this. One, yes, I was very tired. I didn't have time to do it, and it was not a top priority. And then two, my little baby would be gnawing on my fingers, whether teething or otherwise, or if I was trying to look at its teeth or whatever. And I didn't want to have to worry about the bacteria that was clinging to the chemicals of the paint color that was sitting on my nails. So I just wanted to have clean hands at all times, as well as I was washing my hands a ton. You're changing a lot of diapers. And actually in that same breath, my hands got so dry. Like, they were cracking, and I've never experienced that in my entire life. Obviously, it was a little cooler weather too, because maybe it was born in springtime or winter? Spring? Yeah, spring. And So that was its own thing. But anyway, so point being is, as my child was a baby, he was always gnawing on my fingers or whatever. And so I'm just like, it's not a huge concern, as well as I obviously was very much in love and only really cared about my child around then. And so it didn't matter to me. And my husband is not very superficial. And so he's like, if you want to have your nails painted, great. If you don't, great. So thank goodness for him. I know that that's not every girl's case. I feel like some guys are very particular in wanting their girl to look like a supermodel at all times. So blessed to have a wonderful husband. But so that was just kind of how it went. And so I always kind of said to myself, I'm like, well, when my kid gets older, if I want to do that, great, I will do that. It has been, like I said, a while, and I have time now. He's a toddler. Well, I don't have time. I have a little more time where I could make it work, but it's not important to me because I could paint my nails, or I could sit and read a book, or do some laundry. It's just not important to me. And I know, I'm sure I'm being judged for it, and maybe we can say that as it is. Maybe it's my own insecurity. I don't know. I think the difference is just that in the past, in the last however many years, I usually do have my nails painted or whatever and taken care of. And so I think it's just an adjustment. It's one of the things that definitely, having gone through pregnancy and having a kid now, you never in a million years envision it for yourself until you're looking at it like right in the face and you're like, oh, well, this is very different. I never would have imagined myself being that person. For example, like toe polish for me. I feel like that's just kind of a given. Even if your fingernails are not done, your toe polish usually is for most girls and gals and pals. And so I think that's the difference, is that even my toes have not been done since the last time I did them, which was when I was right before I gave birth. And I do go to yoga, and I feel like I feel so much more granola, if I can say it like that, in that way, because I feel like there's girls that are doing yoga next to me and they're like so cute and done up and their nails are all perfect, and I feel like a gremlin. Like, here's the thing, without getting too much into like my foot pick business that I definitely don't have, I feel like I have nice looking toes in general, which is funny because I'm trying to think of who said that recently. Maybe it was on Friends or something, but that everyone's toes just kind of look weird or wonky or something like that. Anyway, I guess I don't have the insecurity in that regard, but I think in the past I would just like them to be nicely done. So I'm getting way into this. But now that when I go to yoga, like I'll look down and I'm like, oh, yeah, I think the past me is probably cringing a little bit, but I'm comfortable with it. And the fact that I have gone to many yoga classes and this happens each time in my brain a little bit, I guess it doesn't bother me enough to fix it, or else I would have fixed it by now. And yeah, that's really it. I even considered doing my nails for the San Diego trip that we went on, because I was like, oh yeah, you want to be cutesy for the trip, blah, blah, blah. What if you take photos? And I was just so busy packing for the trip that I just ran out of time. And I just said, I was like, well, whatever. My husband doesn't care. He's vocally said it. And I'm going to be enjoying this trip with him and my husband, or my child. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe if there was someone going to be a part of the trip, that I'd be like feared of being judged. But that is my biggest life hack, is don't surround people that you don't want to be around, or that are going to judge you or make you uncomfortable. And that is just my greatest advice to anyone regarding friendships. So yeah, maybe others are yucking my yum of just being happy in my own skin, and that's on them, and I don't really care. Another yum of mine is just not wearing makeup. I played the makeup game throughout later years of junior high into high school into college, and I think the truth of the matter is that my eyelashes are just shaped wonky or something, because without fail I'd always get mascara in my eye, and then my eye would just have like the nasty eye boogers in it, and then it would be like swollen because I'd be trying to pick them out, and yeah, it was just a mess. And then I did get lash extensions, one, because they were kind of trendy, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to wake up bombshell glamorous every day. And so I did that. Very expensive. They'd always fall out, which is almost its own version of annoyance. And you just feel them, and you can't rub your eyes, and you can't wash your eyes. Like, you can, but you have to do it very carefully. And so since being married, after I got my eyelash extensions off, I definitely just obviously spent time with my very little stubble eyelashes that remained and just trying to grow them out with serums. And around that time as well, I think that's just kind of during the pandemic. It's not like I was out and about or talking or meeting or greeting people. And so I definitely went makeupless, which I imagine a lot of us did. And so that was the time, and then it kind of just stuck. And I guess the same thing that was probably crossing your mind, which always crosses my mind, is that, well, her husband probably thinks that she just, like, looks ugly or lost control. What's the word? Doesn't take care of herself. I don't know what the correct phrase is, but no, he's always very confidently just said, hey, whatever makes you happy. And the funniest thing that I've quoted before many times is that he has been there through my misery of getting mascara in my eyes. And he always famously says, whatever makes it so you don't have to be having eye problems. If it's not wearing mascara, don't wear it. So once again, I'm very thankful for a not superficial husband. Love him lots for that. But my eyelashes have been such a journey in general because I was using the lash serum after I'd got my lash extensions off. However, the fact of the matter is that they would only grow with the lash serum. And so I did use Babe Lash, and it did work. And that was like in 2021, I would imagine. From what I understand, I think they changed their serum. So Babe Lash, if you want to send me some PR, if you want me to see if that works, actually, I'd very much appreciate that because my eyelashes are going through some stuff right now since being pregnant. So my eyelashes, like, stopped growing and have been a lot shorter since being pregnant into postpartum into breastfeeding. And so I finally just stopped breastfeeding, thankfully. I've been weaning my child, and so I'm hoping things are going to get back to normal a little bit. My body's going to get a little bit healthier and just function normally again. I'm very excited for it, but I'm hoping my eyelashes come back too. But yeah, I've tried different serums, but I feel like with the serums, like, you have to use them, or else if you stop using them, then your eyelashes just go back to being blah, which doesn't make sense to me because it's like hair, right? If you work on your hair growing out, it stays long, but like eyelashes, I guess they fall out and replace each other so quickly. So that's why that doesn't really work out like that, but I don't know. I'm not an expert. But overall, those that want to yuck my yum of not wearing makeup, that's one of my reasoning. And also, it's kind of funny, but one of the main reasons as well is that, one, yes, I hate taking the makeup off at night, and that also takes time. It's precious time away from hanging out with my husband and my child. And so not my child as much, but I just like the super fast pass bedtime routine to be able to go to bed. And, like, just knowing that I'd have to take off that makeup, pain in the butt. So, another reason. Keep in mind, if I have to go to a wedding or something, yeah, I have some makeup laying around that I can throw on and be pretty for a day. But the best part as well is I feel like, and I've heard this from other gals before, I feel like throughout the years, whether it's on TikTok or whatnot, there's a sort of like self-confidence / self, what's the opposite of that? Insecurity, where if you are married to your makeup, a good example, let's say, is the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders chick, Judy, that she very much states in the documentary, and it's very well known. She does not leave the house without a full face of makeup and a red lip and all that. Like, that could never be me, and all the people I know in my life that are like that, like woman-wise, they're kind of high-strung women, which is totally fine, like, to each their own personality-wise, and if that's what you want to do, great. But it's just like, that's one more thing for me to have to stress out about. And I understand that's definitely, I'd say, something that's probably ingrained to them from their own moms, like, because she had said that, like, oh, don't you dare leave the house without your makeup on or whatever. Anyway, I think I was blessed with a face that can get away with it, maybe. I don't know. I'm looking in a mirror right now and just staring, but I feel like I have enough color in my face. My cheeks naturally are pretty rosy. And so oh my gosh, I remember in high school, I would put on blush because that's what my mom would do. And I would just be like, oh my gosh, my face is so pink. And it's because I just naturally have a blush in my cheeks that's very rosy. And so I was just like doubling it. And oh my gosh, looking back into all the things that I did, horrendous. Anyway, but I didn't know better. I didn't know anything. Not that I know better now, because obviously I don't wear makeup now. But it's just funny the things that I did. But that's an example of just like, that was something that I learned from my mom, but that's because her skin's different. She's a lot, I'd say, like paler, I guess. And the type of makeup that was done then is different anyway. So anyway, I think, like I said, I feel a lot more even confident just with having my naked face out all the time, makeupless. Like, I don't feel like insecure or anything because I've done it for so long. I feel like whenever the few times I do have to wear makeup, I feel like gross and icky. It feels like dirty to me that I have to be like paranoid that I can't touch my face, that I'm going to smudge something or whatever. And then the pain in the half of taking it off at the end of the night or whenever the event's over. Another yuck, I'd say, that I feel like I maybe be judged for is that my hair is in a ponytail a lot of the time. I either am working out in the morning, early in the morning, I am walking midday with my dogs and my child and pushing the stroller, or I'm running errands, or I'm cleaning the house. My hair is usually in a ponytail. Which it's funny because in that knowledge, I still enjoy having long hair. I do like the look of it when I want it to look good. And so it's not like I live in this like, oh, she should just cut her hair all off and not have to deal with it, because I do like having long hair. And I definitely don't want like the mom chop or bob or whatever. But I will say my hair does reside in like a slicked ponytail 9 out of 10 times. And that's another thing where I feel like I'm probably judged for it maybe a little bit, that like, oh, she never gets ready. She just puts her hair in a ponytail. But like, I don't care. I love it. And I love the sway and flip of my ponytail too. I feel like I look so obnoxious in the gym because my hair in the past, it's pretty long. And so like it will do that casual like whip thing that happens when you walk, and it looks very precocious. I don't know if that's the right word, but pretentious. I don't know. Anyway, and so I always laugh when I see myself in the mirror because I'm just like, I feel like people think I do this on purpose. But in reality, it's just like there's just so much hair and it's just whipping with the way I walk. Which it was funny. I saw a trend a while back just of one of the things of like, oh, don't tell the guys that we do it this way or whatever, that we can definitely control that whip when we walk. But the joke is just that for me, when walking on a treadmill, it kind of comes naturally. I think it's just a normal kind of pace thing. But yes, you can definitely control the whip when you walk, like if you're going down the hallway at school or whatever. But I'm thinking back to high school. But it's so funny because only girls can identify that specific, like, I'm doing it on purpose kind of stride. Maybe guys can too. I don't know. But it just makes me laugh. Another yuck, I'd say, that people, or yum of mine that people probably yuck, is just being super comfy. 9 out of 10 times, I have to be comfy cozy. If that's wearing, like, sweatpants to the grocery store or whatever, great. I don't care. Even if I ran into someone and I know, I'm just being cozy. And that's going to be me 24/7 anyway. But one of my favorite things to do is, so I grew up in a house that definitely you take your shoes off. It was a no-shoes house. And I usually am quite respectful for other people that run their house the same way. Or even if I go to somebody's house that don't and they're all wearing their shoes inside, sometimes I still will take my shoes off because I feel like it's just like, I don't know, not like arrogant, but like it's respectful to still take your shoes off. I don't know. It's, for me, it's just saying that, hey, I think that this is your property and I'm being respectful of it, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Anyway, but my favorite thing is like the jandals. I don't know if it's calling them jandals is probably a Utah thing, but people call them Jesus sandals. I guess a version of flip-flops, whatever. I know you can get them, I don't know if his Shields is universal or if it's a small family company or whatever, but you can get them a lot of places, but they're like the Hawaiian flip-flops. Let me Google the actual name for them. All right, so you can get them on Amazon. They're the Pali Hawaii Unisex Adult Classic Jandals sandals. Okay, so there you go. They're literally called jandals, and I love that because I I don't know if that's because they're short for Jesus sandals. I swear that's something that, like, in Utah, people would call them that for that reason, shorten it to Jesus sandals, jandals. But I don't know if that's not correct. But anyway, for the name, jandals. Anyway, they are a staple. I can't live, laugh, love without my jandals. I will not travel without them, and they are the best for every situation. Are you getting your feet wet? Great, jandals. Are you going to the grocery store? Jandals. Are you going to go outside for some, like, minor yard work? Jandals. Are you going to walk your dog to the mailbox? Jandals. Like, jandals are the solution. Sponsor me, jandals. No, and the best part is that, like, they're cheaper to replace too. I'm pretty sure they're only like $12 or $15. Maybe it's gone up since I last got them, but because you only have to replace them like every like 4 or 5 years because they eventually wear out, but they're just iconic. And I feel like if you asked most people in Utah if they owned a pair, I would be willing to say up 50 to 75% of people own jandals if they know about them. And are within the pop culture of 10 years ago because they've been around for probably 15 plus 20 years now. Anyway, absolutely love them. So ending on a very specific media / TV show yuck that I've seen throughout my entire life is if you happen to mention that you watch The Bachelor, you scroll on TikTok or some other time waster such and such, and somebody immediately replies, "Oh my gosh, I could never," or "Yeah, I don't have TikTok," but then they spend all their time scrolling on reels that are being reposted from TikTok. Anyway, that just grinds my gears in the stupidest way because I'm just like, what, do you want a medal? Like, it's so pathetic to me. And I swear every time, like, I'm fine and I have friends that are awesome, wonderful people that say, no, like, I'm not on TikTok. And usually the next thing that they say is, I would be on it all the time. I'd be so addicted. And I'm like, correct. I am on it all the time and I am addicted. So you're not wrong there. But at least it's respectful. But it's just the people that respond otherwise. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, no. And they try to act holier than thou and that they're not on it and that they have more self-control or something. I think that is the stupidest thing, like, stupidest choice someone can make to act otherwise. And then it's even funnier later on when you talk to the same people and they've changed their mind or joined whatever bandwagon because it's gotten so big that they can't deal with it. Like, another example is, like, watching sports for, like, football, NFL, for girls. And yeah, I'll attack my own sex here. But, like, girls that are like, oh my gosh, yeah, he never has time for me because he just wants to watch football. Okay, fun fact, I grew up not watching football whatsoever, and my husband converted me. And I asked so many questions, and he was so happy to answer them, and now I enjoy it. And I totally look forward to the season. And that's just an example. Just grow up. Try to, like, if it's a significant other, give their hobby a chance. I've literally looked into so many different little things and become knowledgeable, just things that my husband is into, just because I want him to know that I love and support him. Or better yet, if for some reason I would like to do something that he likes to do, guess what? More power to us. We can do it together. Amazing. Anyway, so I think it's just pathetic when anyone, like, immediately wants to act cooler that they don't do something bandwagon or to the masses. I think it's just pathetic. I think you're an annoying person if you're going to act like that way. And yeah, have fun making friends. Oh yeah, and on that same topic, all I will say is, like, with social media in general, like, I'm making TikToks these days, and, like, because I've gotten in and out of the TikTok grind, I'll say. And yeah, one day maybe she'll make money, but no, she's not making money yet. But she's having a fun time every now and then. That's honestly the funniest times is when I make TikToks is when I'm like half conscious because I'm tired and I think something's mildly funny, and so I'll make a video and post it. And that's just me having a good time. Anyway, but my point being though is people that are like in your life that know you're making TikToks or whatever and are either unsupportive, judging you, or like choosing not to talk to you about it. That's the weirdest thing to me. I'm just like, I see you creeping on my page. Do you okay? And I want to block them so badly as well. But I was like, you know what? Maybe they'll grow up and they'll talk to me about it one day. But yeah. Anyway, it's just so tacky and petty, and I don't know who it's petty of me, petty of them. But yeah, I think if you are gonna be an actual supporter or something, or a friend in life, that's the difference between a real friend and a fake friend. So yeah, that's my 2 bits on that today. That's my yuck for regarding social media, is just like, it's the people closest to you, not all of them, because I have some really good friends that are like super close to me, but just like the fake friends, I can't. That's a yuck that could be yucked because there's not really a yum for it. So anyway, kind of weird topic today, but I've just been hearing the phrase "don't yuck my yum" everywhere, so that's what we were just going with, and maybe next episode won't be so weird, but it was fun. It was a good time. But yeah, every time I hear "don't yuck my yum," all I can think is pineapple on pizza, which I will forever go with that. It makes me mad because Domino's has a deal like for a medium to topping or whatever, and I like the Hawaiian and pineapple, but I would also love to throw some olives on there. But then they charge you like another $1.50, which is like ridiculous. Anyway, that's a yuck for Domino's. Sorry, Domino's. I like your deals, but I just want some olives as well on my pizza. But yeah, so that's all. Love you guys so much. Feel free to hop on over, give me a little 5-star. I think it's like on the same page, or thumbs up or something to show that you love me. I'd appreciate it. Or if you want to follow the Instagram, hit that follow, comment, DM anytime. I would love to hear from y'all. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.